Radio Rahim with Bill Haney. We are just a few hours before your son steps through the ropes and tries to become a champion at 140 pounds after leaving at 35 undisputed. First of all, that journey to this spot has to have been something you planned on as a young father, but to see your son now challenging at 140 pounds has to feel like you've never felt before.
Well, I don't know how young I was when the planning started, but it definitely has been all by Allah's permission. The one responsibility that I have given by Allah is to be a parent, to have Devin to embrace boxing and turn a negative, like fighting in school or anything, to being a positive and come home and everyone to embrace him and embrace the professionalism that he's had, all the belts and everything. But Radio Rahim, to come home as a challenger, to step up to 140 pounds against a tough and rugged Regis Prograis. I mean, after this, you cannot down him no longer. You got to crown him.
Well, a young father is where the emotion is, where the heart
Absolutely.
is. And you got all the energy.
It's still, I do.
You look young. That's where the youth comes from. And being young and energetic, able to get in the gym with your son probably has had a lot to do with him being able to sustain his mission to this point. Against him, though, across the ropes has another guy who's got a lot of spirit in his heart, who is full of ambition, who is holding the titles right now. Now, I know a lot has been said on the dais. A lot of trash talk has gone back and forth between the teams. But how do you, as a trainer, feel about the abilities of Regis Prograis?
Listen, you can't say enough about him. The one thing that I said is that it wasn't nobody else that raised their hand and called for that green belt, that prestigious green belt that so many of the greats have had. And now we get to continue on with the legacy that Devin is drawing. It's the Devin Haney era. Devin's one sole thing was that he wanted to join the Mount Rushmore of boxing. And this is one more step closer. And to gain the admiration of new fans, of fans that have been dormant here in the Bay Area, you had to bring in a guy like the Rougarou. You know what I mean? He's known for his power. He says that he's going to knock Devin out. And listen, the fans around here want to see it.
Yeah, I talked about the ambition of both fighters and how hard a journey it is to get to a level like this in boxing. Prograis has made a big issue of where Devin's really from, what kind of schooling he's had.
Before you start on that, do you know Prograis didn't called out everybody? Did you know he called out Tank too? Huh?
No, what do you mean?
You didn't know he called Tank? He called for Tank. He called for everybody to make a fight. Has anybody? Now he raised his hand for us and accepted the challenge. But you tell me, because you're knowledgeable, who's called his name?
Right, that's an issue that he's had, and
he's called everybody, right?
Right, and Devin had the same issue, but Devin went to Australia. He took that fight twice. Like, he did what he had to do to get to where he is at. And I feel like Prograis is feeling right now that this fight on Saturday, tomorrow night, is what he has to do to get really where he wants to be as a marquee fighter, a potential pay-per-view draw. He's got to beat a Devin Haney.
You're spot on. You couldn't said it more better than that. You have two fighters that are hungry fighters with both having chips on their shoulder. It's not the fact that Regis is just a two-time world champion. He's not complacent. He still wants it. He's hungry. And a hungry man is a dangerous man. But you have Devin Haney, who's also an undisputed champion, right? And until someone else has done something else in that division, even though he's left. Let me clear it. Now, he's left. We're at 140 pounds now, and he still has a chip on his shoulder to become a two-division world champion. So you got two hungry fighters, man. It's going to be fireworks.
But as a man who is clearly educated, but has had his time in the streets, understands both sides, how much credence do you put in the idea that you got to come up from the streets, you got to be in public school, you got to have had street fights? Like, that gives a fighter a different edge.
Hey, listen, you got to do what you can to protect your kids and to educate your kids. That's the best thing that I can say. Leaving them in any particular school unattended can end up being a disaster. We decided to take the matter into our own hands with Devin's education, homeschool him. And if you want to say that's private, then so be it. We brought in the best educators that we could. We did online schooling, and of course, you know, I always say that boxing and him found each other, and it was a marriage. It's almost like it's something that he does innately, you know, and you know, so the narrative that you have to be from the streets or be from the mud, to me, just being in the streets means that you've been in the streets. Being in the mud means that you didn't got dirty. That doesn't mean that you've been successful. So we need to change that narrative that it is about education. And whatever sport you in or whatever profession you're in, put the work in. And more importantly, you know, as the young people, I can say is find a way to listen to your parents and find the wisdom in what they're saying and not what they've been doing.
Now, Devin is an educated young man. Credit to you for that. He is also a young man and a young star who wants certain kind of cred. Street cred, he wants credit in the boxing game. He presents himself in a way that he wants to be a star. Well, in the last 12, 24 hours,
when you put street cred, you got to put street cred, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because we don't only look to be accepted by the streets with the hard work that he does, but we want to be accepted by the blue collar working man and also the corporate individual that understands that, you know, those late nights that you put in are no different. We put this work in, and you will see on December the 9th an array of an arsenal full of things and weapons and things that we've developed over the years. And that's what I want people to really recognize, that, you know, hard work does pay off, no matter the stumbling block, no matter the platform that they say that you can't cross over, no matter the promotional company that you have to deal with.
But Bill, what I'm getting at is just before he climbs the ropes, he's sitting there looking at all the trash that's been talked. He knows what the criticism is, whether he's online right now or not. He knows what it is. How do you make sure that he keeps his mind on the game plan and doesn't get drawn into a firefight with Prograis? Or
when you got the best jab in the business, Radio Rahim, you start with the jab and you end with the jab. Listen, this is classic boxing, and right now it's the Devin Haney era, and he's a classic boxer. And listen, does Regis Prograis punch? Is he a puncher?
Well, yeah.
Well, let's see.
I don't think that is debatable. He's got enough knockouts to call him
for sure. It sounds like. And listen,
but if but you know what I'm saying. If he hits Devin big, right? If Devin's winning the fight, he's got his technique working. He's won 2-3 rounds already. But he hits him big, the crowd oohs. How do you make sure that he stays focused on being the kind of boxing technician you want him to be, and not get into a back and forth with a young man who's trying to draw him into a for lack of a better term, a pissing contest, a slug match? He, like, you know, the kind of fight Prograis wants, and he can get at Devin's emotions to make Devin fight his Prograis fight.
Yeah, well, listen, that's, as a young fighter, you know, you see. Sometimes your energy and your emotions can take over you. Devin is not a novice fighter. He's a seasoned fighter. He's a champion that has crossed barriers and ponds alike. I expect for him to show his experience and his intelligence. You know, like I say, you know, when you have the array of tools that he has, starting with being the best jab in the business, I'm comfortable telling you that we're going to start with that, and let's see what you do from there.
Now, you talked about the things that the different arenas in which he wants to make his statement. The corporate, obviously the street cred, he wants the credit in boxing. And the last fight with Lomachenko, highly criticized, came away with the W. That's what you're in there to get. Does he have something to prove on Saturday night?
I don't know. Did you not see Devin meet Lomachenko in the center of the ring? Did you not see him step to Lomachenko?
A great fight, but I saw people were debating at the end.
I'm going to ask you, how many times did you see anybody walk to Lomachenko? I think you might have seen Salido did it, and he did it in a sloppy way, and then you might have seen Teofimo Lopez do it, but I think Lomachenko did it in a passive way, right? He might have gave around six of the rounds, right? Devin stepped to him from round one and gave him all the business that he can handle. There was nothing controversial about it.
You said at the end of the fight, it wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't even close. Let me tell you, I come out the streets, and let me tell you this. Every time I looked up and I was in the rearview mirror and I seen the police car, If it slowed down and they backed off like Lomachenko did in the 12th round, it wasn't close.
So do you believe that Devin, while you believe won the fight and it wasn't close, has something to prove that he can dominate a fight, that maybe what we saw against Lomachenko was a better performance than people are giving him credit for?
Listen, and in all fairness, Lomachenko is a hell of a fighter, right? What you have to say is that when all the marbles are on the table, and in that 12th round, what are you going to do? And our segue from there is, what are they going to do when they have to pick up the Rougarou?
I will almost let you go, Bill. I know it's been a long week. Leaving 135 pounds, I think Lomachenko was the right fight to have before you left that division. You know, Devin was criticized for taking the elevated title, but then he fought Lomachenko, so that's all you can ask of a guy. The WBA wanted to bestow...
Well, if you've crossed the pond, and no one has ever went across the pond and became undisputed champion, let alone being a lightweight in the 4-belt era, to do it, but then no one has ever then did a repeat and gave the rematch.
I don't think anybody is not giving Devin credit for that. All I'm asking is about Tank. About Tank not taking the elevated WBA titles. What do you think of him basically passing on that?
I'm just as confused as you are, because it's hard to get out to hard to understand. He's going to pass here, go there, and Radio Rahim. In the history of boxing, you have never put the face of boxing to look like that.
We're
talking about Sugar Ray Leonard that then had the infamous WBC. We're talking about Floyd Mayweather. We're talking about Mike Tyson. We're talking about Pernell Whitaker. No other than Jack Johnson. I mean, since when belts didn't matter?
Right. They do, but not fighting the current champion to get the belt and being elevated to full champion.
I'm saying it's pretty disrespectful when you have a 24-year-old kid that has locked up the lightweight division, and it took him 7-8 years to do it. I mean, he listen, when we were lightweights, when Mikey Garcia was there, Adrian Broner was there, Robert Eastern was there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It took a minute. You see what I mean? So a lot of times when you said the sacrifice that a kid would take and go in there to drain his body to accomplish what had never been accomplished is quite amazing.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking any credit from Devin. In fact, I'm giving him the credit for not having done that and then having fought Lomachenko before he left the division. You can't ask for anything more from a guy. All I'm asking about is Tank's decision now to not accept an elevated WBA title. Do you think that that's a mistake, or do you respect him for making that decision?
No, but that's just another way of being able to not have a mandatory. Anytime you hold the belts, then you hold the opportunity for someone else to be great. When you put the belt down, then you no longer give another person an opportunity to be great, if you call yourself great.
Yeah, and lastly, Bill, after this fight at 140, obviously you expect to win. So given that premise, inshallah, if you win on Saturday night, are you looking for Devin Haney to clear out the 140 division? Is it undisputed at 140, or is this a belt grab and then we go back and do more business at 135 where there are super fights? There's probably more money at 35 than at 40.
Respectfully, with less than 24 hours, a tremendous fighter like Regis Prograis, I honestly got to focus in on him, and I promise you, after that, I'll give it to you first.
After that is just 24 hours from now, so you heard it here. We're going to get the rest of this interview and find out what happens next with Devin Haney on Saturday night. Chase Center, amazing fight, great matchup. Thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, Ken.
And thank you for bringing boxing to the Bay Area, where I'm from, where you're from, where we need these kind of events. It takes a big, giant name like Haney and Prograis to make a night like Saturday come to pass. And here we will be, Radio Rahim with Bill Haney.